top cuts happen before we bend them, just to get things thinned out so that they'll bend. So that it kind of has the ski profile. This one's been cut. So you put one ski on either side. To start with, I just put one ski up. I measure its midpoint. And for most of your skis, I measured the midpoint and then dropped it back 3 inches to allow for some of these decorative tips that people like to do. And you need a little bit of extra stock up there for those. Some of the wider skis that people are making, I don't think I added. I think I maybe added an extra inch or something. But measuring the midpoint, and that midpoint corresponds with the midpoint here where the screw is put down. And I use shims to raise the level of the batten up to the level of the ski, so that they're level. And then it's just,
so it's the midpoint by measure, not by balance.
Right. Which in a dimensional board is pretty much the balance point.
Okay.
But when we start carving, then that balance point is going to change a little bit. Yeah. And we'll mess with that a little bit later on the skis, redefining that point for your bindings. And then it's just kind of about eyeballing it and figuring out, where do you want this low point of your ski to be? How does it look? Do you have flat spots anywhere? Generally, I'll put the back screw about 5 or 6 inches. 5 or 6 inches up from the tail of the ski. So you pin it down there. And then up here it's anywhere from 8 to 10 inches to a foot back from the tip is kind of a good spot. So somewhere back in here would be the low spot in the wood there. And then a little box of shims somewhere. Yeah. Here. Sure. We want to add a little bit of one of these. Yeah. We want to add a little bit of thickness to the tail, the heel, and the tip. And the reason we add a big chunk in the tip is for that decorative carving. You need a good chunk to carve into. Otherwise, you wouldn't necessarily need to do that if you weren't interested in any of that. You could just let this run out if you wanted that all the same.
And the reason that we made it thicker is that a lot of students like the decorative knock on the tips, and there is a function to that's important in that you can take 2 skis that have that decorative knock, and when you clamp it together in the off season, you can stick a piece of wood between them. You can jab it here and here.
And why put the wood there? Why?
Keep your tips spread apart.
Okay.
So they don't relax. Because relative humidity can be really humid in the summer months, and that can affect the way you're...
Once you have these points kind of defined...
Did you explain why you lifted the heel of the ski?
I guess not, no.
Yeah, and the reason you want to lift that heel is otherwise it would be scraping. You need that extra bend there, so when you're sliding, otherwise if it was just bent like that, it would scrape.
And
it also helps you back up if you ever need to back up.
On the ends of wood, the end of wood doesn't have as much flex as the middle does, so if you already have the bend in there, then it helps with.
Yep. And we also add some thickness to that too, just to give it a little more strength. And to do that, you just tuck a shim under there to raise this up. Same with the front. Tuck a shim on to raise that up to whatever thickness you want. It's like 1/2 inch. You go down back here, maybe 3/4 up there for like a nice decorative knot like this.
Is this also birch?
No, that's just like a pine or something. And the width of that batten matters too. How thick do you want the thinnest part of your ski to be? This one's like 5/16, and it's a little thick for a lot of skis. I think for most of the big wide skis, I had a 1/4-inch batten.
And you want to start out with a nice straight batten.
Yeah.
You don't want one that's got any kind of weight to it.
And so this will be clamped in here, just to hold it in place. And once I get this all set, you know, looking down at the curve and there's no flat spots. And another thing that I try to do is keep this foot pad level where your foot's going to rest. And try not to get the ski coming down until it's past where the heel is roughly, and so you can slide some more shim stock in there to kind of bring that back up, and then let it drop off afterwards. So once it's all set, sometimes it's good to, you know, you get a little flex in here, and if you push hard enough with your pencil, you can change things a little bit. So you put shims under there just so they support it, not so that they change anything, but just so that they support that batten, so there isn't that potential for flex when you run your pencil over it. But once everything's set, then you put the other ski on there, clamp it down so they're next to each other, and then you scribe on the ski, both skis, and then you have to unclamp everything and switch the skis around so you get both sides scribed. And then from there, I just took it on a bandsaw or used Mark's little 4-inch power planer to take off the wood down to the line.
These are really nicely tooled.
And then I use a spoke shaver to smooth everything up and get everything down to the scribe line. You can see it there. And so that's the point you found them at yesterday, soaking in the tank. That's what had been done to them.